It doesn't get much more symbolic than this. Air raid sirens wailing overhead as Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Joe Biden walk together in the center of Kyiv, a reminder of what drew the U.S. president on his extraordinary journey. It was a visit cloaked in secrecy until his convoy of vehicles started stopping traffic this morning. Like so many other leaders before him, he'd taken a train from Poland to reach the Ukrainian capital. But the U.S. president's visit is like no other, in that Washington is Ukraine's biggest backer in terms of military hardware.
Thank you very much for coming, Mr. President. That is a huge moment of supporting of the Ukraine.
I thought it was critical that there not be any doubt, none whatsoever, about U.S. support for Ukraine.
The leaders visited St. Michael's Cathedral and the monument honoring Ukrainian soldiers killed since 2014, when Russian troops seized Crimea, the real start of the current war to many Ukrainians. For a battered population, Biden's visit brought a sliver of light. This is unexpected but very joyful, Yulia is saying. We saw the videos from St. Michael's Square and it made me cry. But the visit also brings with it expectations. I don't think Biden would have come here without announcing important aid for us, says another resident, Yuri, like F-16 fighter planes. The U.S. president didn't come empty-handed, announcing an additional package worth $500 million US.
That announcement includes artillery ammunition for HIMARS and howitzers, air surveillance radars to help protect Ukrainian people from aerial bombardments.
But there were no promises, at least not in public, of long-range missiles or fighter planes. Still, his visit offered an important gesture of solidarity and a hug as Ukrainians prepare to mark 1 year since the start of the Russian invasion. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Zaporizhzhia.
From Ukraine to Washington now, Paul Hunter's watching reaction to Biden's visit. So, Paul, here in Kyiv, we had a sense something or someone was coming. We just didn't know what. We were told, don't leave the hotel. You can't film outside the window. Cars in the square were being towed. This was a huge operation.
Yeah, and a very tightly held secret. In planning for months, Adrienne, the final go-ahead came just on Friday. Then Biden flew to Poland with a small security team and just 2 reporters. Usually there are more than a dozen on presidential trips. He then took a train to Kyiv, 10 hours each way, with those reporters first having to hand in their cell phones, not allowed even to report how he got to Kyiv until after Biden was safely back in Poland. American presidents have gone into war zones before, Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam, others, but it's always been to places where there is a U.S. military presence on the ground, and that's not the case in Kyiv. The risk to Biden was mitigated, say U.S. officials, but not eliminated, because it's an active war zone. Biden wanted to send a forceful message he stands with Ukraine, a message aimed at Ukraine and at Russia, which, by the way, was given a private heads up on the visit by the U.S. so as to avoid any inadvertent mishaps. No other details are known on that. Meanwhile, some in Russia now say the visit was a humiliation for Vladimir Putin, for Biden to have been able to do this in broad daylight, as it were. Tomorrow, Putin gives a major speech in Russia with all eyes on him for any reaction to Biden's visit.
So we will watch for the reaction from Putin. But what about back in the U.S., Paul?
Look, Joe Biden can say he supports continued aid for Ukraine, but the fact is Democrats no longer control the purse strings on Capitol Hill. And many Republicans have made clear they are uninterested in keeping at it. One of them, Marjorie Taylor Greene, today tweeting that it's an insult for Biden to have gone to Ukraine today because it's the President's Day holiday in America. And Republicans also know that support for Ukraine in the U.S. broadly isn't what it was a year ago. Adrienne.
All right, Paul Hunter in Washington. Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome.